Hello and welcome. I'm not quite sure what will be in today's video. I'm going to take a wander around the garden and the polytunnel and see what's going on and what needs attending to. Anything that catches my eye as worthy of the camera, I'll switch you on and we'll take a look. Starting with all the beautiful purple flowers on this lovely rosemary. It's looking gorgeous and smelling nice as ever. Delicious. So let's go and see what we can see. Well, this hedge of daffodils is certainly video worthy. They're looking gorgeous. These little white ones with their yellow trumpets are looking splendid. Now this is a plant that I know as Jack Frost. I searched the internet and found its proper name for you, and for me, Lamium yellow, Archangel variegatum. And it's settling in very nicely up this hedgerow where I planted it. It's been here quite a few years now, and this is the first time I've ever seen it flowering. Got little yellow flower stems. I'm really thrilled. I didn't know it had flowers. I just know it for its leaves and its ground cover habit. So I'm quite thrilled to see these little yellow flowers. Maybe they'll seed and spread even more. Oh, there's some up there too. Fantastic! And in for a closer look at those beautiful frosty tipped leaves and little yellow flowers. Here's another variant of Jack Frost. It has much more white on its leaves and a much larger leaf. And this is a Jack Frost, Brunera macrophylla Jack Frost. But it really struggles here. Well, actually, I think it tries to grow quite well, but something keeps eating it. I suspect slugs and snails, but I'm not sure. Maybe a mulching with some strulch might help. It's a sort of grassy, strawy, mulchy base that apparently the slugs and snails don't like and keep away from. So perhaps I'll give that a try this year and see if it allows it to grow better. The light's reflecting off it. I don't know how good it's going to look in the camera. We have masses of flowers on this blueberry bush, so hopefully a good harvest of blueberries, as long as I can protect them with net from the birds. And here we have evidence of a mole party. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a tiny one, so 9 molehills, all in this little space. Been having great fun. I'm delighted to see that this quince tree behind me has actually got buds of blossoms on it, which is particularly exciting because this quince was quite a large tree and has in previous years given me a bountiful harvest of delicious quince. But a couple of years ago, I became aware it was suffering badly from quince leaf blight, the best cure for which is to gather up all affected leaves and burn them. Don't put them in your compost, and definitely you don't want them lying around on the floor underneath the tree to reinfect it the following season. So I have been very diligently clearing up all its leaves, and about 2 years ago now I severely pruned it down to a more manageable height so I could access these damaged leaves and deal with them rather than being 15 feet up in the air. So it's looking wonderfully healthy. That does not mean it won't start showing signs of the blight later in the season. I shall still be keeping a sharp eye on it, but after its severe pruning and cutting back, I had no fruit last year, which was no surprise. Where have they gone? So I'm very pleased to see these little rosy buds of blossom I'll bring you in for a close look. There aren't very many around the whole tree, but I'm quite glad about that. I wouldn't want it to be carrying a heavy fruit load this year. I'm just hopeful it will continue to improve with strength and vigour, and I can keep an eye on that disease and keep it under control. Here I have a red Filbert Nut Tree. The filberts are basically a sort of hazelnut. I love its dark red leaves. There is a green version, and I have a few of those about as well. When I ordered the red filbert specifically, I was sent a couple of trees that turned out to be green. Very kindly, the nursery refunded all of my payment, and although they had no red filbert in stock, I was able to purchase them from elsewhere. They'd obviously had difficulties with other customers who had the same complaint. And I got to keep the green ones. So because I have the space, I have extra nut trees, which is wonderful. I like the red filbert specifically for its beautiful dark red leaves. And this wonderful big splash of yellow behind me is a huge forsythia. Could do with some serious cutting back. It's getting very large. It does look splendid though. Now the verbascums that didn't flower last year are looking splendid, and I'm quite sure they'll put up a flower spike this year. Actually, I'd rather they didn't flower and just stayed like this. They look gorgeous. But the flower stalks from last year's flowers that were left, a bit like a foxglove or a hollyhock, you get this big tall spike with lots of flowers on it, has started growing little tiny plantlets along the length of its stem. Quite honestly, I don't know what to do with them. Just leave them standing here to grow? Or can I snap them off and root them like cuttings? I have no idea. Perhaps I'll try both and see what works. So in amongst all the dead leaves from last year's flower spike, we have all these little baby plants growing. Here and here, kind of in each leaf joint down the stem. There's loads of them. This beautiful blue flowering, low growing, ground spreading plant, Lithodora Heavenly Blue, has been here for several years and flowers profusely all summer long. Now I don't remember its name, but I do have its label in with my seed collection, so I'll get its name and put it on the screen for you. You'll be used to this by now. Lots of things I don't remember the names of, especially the flowers. It's that time of year where the lemon balm is starting to shoot up nice new green growth. So I'm ready to start snapping off last year's old flower stems. I just run my hand as near the base of these dead twiggy bits as I can and snap them off. In no time at all, we can turn this dead twiggy mess into a lovely, lush, lemony leaves again. Beautiful, smells gorgeous, really nice. Here in the polytunnel, I have all the dahlias shooting up. Well, not quite all of them. These pots and these pots have all got growth in them, and those at the far side are not quite showing themselves yet. Now it's not a case of positioning, because I have just been rearranging all the pots so that all those that are not showing yet are in one tray, and I can keep a particular eye on those and see, hopefully, if things start to grow. Although on camera some of these look empty, there is just the very beginnings of a tiny little green shoot popping above the compost. Now this at the front is obviously a bulb, not a dahlia, But a bulb of what, I do not know. I have no label on the pot, and I have no idea what it is, but it's growing and healthy, so I'm happy to see that. And these two red pots at the front are also bulbs, well, corms in fact, they're gladioli. One of them shooting way above everything else. There's no sign of the rest yet. And these little square pots did have sunflower seeds in them, but some little mouse came and munched them all. I was not happy, so I'm going to replant them today with more sunflower seeds and put this tray in a different place just to make sure that little mouse doesn't come back and get the next batch. I do have other sunflower seeds growing in one of my underbed storage tubs, so we've not been completely wiped out. Here I have the pineapple lilies starting to show themselves, ready to give another splendid display this summer. And a very healthy stack of garden peas that are desperate to get into the ground. So I shall plant these today and give them a bit more root space and some trellis to climb up. They've been in these little pots far too long. Also a good idea today to be starting a second batch of peas. I shall continue succession sowing maybe once a month through April, May and June. That should give me a long harvest of delicious fresh podded peas. So here on the potting bench I have those lettuces we planted about a month ago, all looking luscious and green, but no sign of any red-leaved lettuce. So I was surprised about that. The seed is obviously too old and no longer viable. Off to the side of them we have the agapanthus. I've also noticed behind them the beginnings of the begonias. There's one here, begonia, a random tomato, and a bit of a bump in the soil. So I think we just push aside. No green yet. The cuttings from the rhododendron I took are still looking green, so that's a good sign. I've no idea if they're rooting yet. I've been keeping the compost very moist and damp. Hopefully not enough to be rotting them, just enough to give them a drink and keep them alive until they can get some decent roots going. Here in this tub, now this underbed box has squash in it. The germination rate is not looking great. Curry. Okay, so we have a curry, and that looks like a blue. Ooh, that says butternut squash Waltham, so that's what these should be. I'll leave that in its pot. No sign of this delicata at all. And also no crown prints. So I've got some curry and some butternut. At least it's a start. I don't know why the others haven't germinated, but I'll plant some more seeds and give it another go. So at this point, I don't want to leave my plastic lids clipped tight onto these tubs. I've got them pushed off to the side to leave a gap to allow some airflow on these nice new green leaves. And this lid has been set on sideways to guarantee lots of airflow. And here are the sunflowers that didn't get eaten by the mouse. In fact, they're getting so tall now, I think I need to take the lid off totally. And that's it for seed starts in here. Everything else is still in the house in little tiny pots on the window ledge. Mainly brassica type things and a few calendula. I was just about to plant those young pea plants when I noticed this thornless blackberry that I have allowed to continue growing in here has actually started putting out flower buds. So hopefully a nice crop of blackberries from the thornless blackberry in the polytunnel. Now it gets to be a huge plant, so I'm not sure how long I'll let it continue living in the polytunnel, because in this warm environment I suspect it'll get even larger. It's already trailing a good 8 foot in that direction. And up this post here, I have tied it in to keep it against this back wall and stop it sprawling all over the place. But how long I'll manage to contain it without digging up its roots, I don't know. I do have more thornless blackberry growing very happily outdoors, and letting it continue growing in here is a bit of an experiment. I'm not sure I'm willing to give up the space for it. So here we have little stalks of flower buds all along this stem. So hopefully a bountiful harvest. My beloved fennel plants are about 2 foot tall now and tasting delicious as ever. Yum! These potato plants sprouted up from potatoes that were left last year when I harvested. I didn't leave them on purpose. There's always a few get missed. And I was quite pleased and delighted to see them sprouting in the early spring. But even here in the polytunnel, they've popped up so early, they've taken a hammering from the most recent morning frost. This bit here is looking quite healthy, but the earliest ones to show their faces are suffering from it now. It's no great loss. As I say, I didn't purposefully plant these potatoes here this year. They're just last year's leftovers. This gorgeous purple and white flowering petunia is still putting on a splendid display of flowers. If I keep it well watered, I have every hope it will continue to flower throughout the summer and very possibly carry on through the winter into next year. It won't flower through the winter, but it should continue to survive in the polytunnel environment. There's no added heat in here, just the natural warmth created by the sunshine. Another important environmental factor inside the polytunnel is the lack of howling gales. It definitely offers the plants a great amount of protection. So for planting my peas, I already started and forgot to bring you along. So this is what I'm doing. I take off last year's grassy mulch. Now there's not much of it left. It's all been taken in by the worms, which is good. But whatever's still lying on the surface, I'm going to scrape off, put to one side, and I'll use that again in a moment. I'm going to give this very dry soil a quick scattering of blood, fish and bone. It's just a general all-round good feed. As I said, the soil gets very dry in here, so I'm going to give this a water. If you dig in deep, about 6 inches, it is moist. I suppose at official ground level, because the raised beds are bringing this up above the ground and it drains and dries much quicker. So this top layer is much drier. So blood, fish and bone, a good watering, and then I'm adding a top dressing of fresh new compost. 1 or 2 bags is more than enough for this 4 foot by 8 foot bed. It's just adding extra nutrient and extra feed for this growing season. I've already spread 1/3 of a bag of compost from here to the end of the bed. So this second bag is going to be plenty to cover the rest of this bed. You want some strawberry? Take your mulch off. Give you some compost. There you go. Now I have a lovely fresh new bed to plant in my young pea plants. Some of my plants are very long already and some are short and stumpy. Now I'm growing an early onward and a Kelvin's Wonder. They're all mixed up, I don't know which is which. So I suspect my short stumpies are my Kelvin's Wonder and my tall ones are my early onward. But it could very well be the other way round. So I'm going to plant them alternatively. A long one, a short one, a long one and a short one. All the way along this trellis and hopefully get a nice early harvest. Now I'm very pleased to have lots of plants. I've actually got enough to plant the other side of this trellis as well. So I'll put a row of peas in there also. And at the front of this row I'm going to put in some of those young lettuce plants. Give them decent spacing and allow them to grow into nice big lettuce heads. Don't know if you can see, probably not. They're desperate to be in the soil. And a couple of little weaklings. Actually, I think something's been eating these. Maybe I had a slug visit, as well as that mouse on my sunflowers. We'll pop them in the ground though. They might give us a pod or two. Put you there, and I don't know, up here. So as I dig the holes to plant these pea plants, that's mixing in the new compost with the old soil. Because my trellis is a little high off the ground for these peas to reach without flopping over, I've got myself some little skinny sticks just to give them a start. Pushing the sticks into the ground and gently resting the peas up against them, they'll soon grab hold of that trellis and be climbing up and supporting themselves. Oh, knocking that one over. And I shall do the same all along the length of the trellis on the other side. 2 wonderful rows of peas. Well, pea plants, not peas yet. And some lettuce. I do seem to have 2 different varieties here. A smooth flat leaf lettuce and a crinky wavy leaf lettuce. But no red ones. Very strange. I'm sure I planted a mix of seeds. There we go. What have I got in here? 2, Should I separate them? Don't know if I can. Plant them together. There we go. Two lovely lettuce. Let's have a crinkly one. And now we have beautiful instant garden. I'm going to give this 3 or 4 watering cans full of water, and then obviously come back and check on it each day to make sure things are settling in nicely. In a week or 2, when things have settled in and started to get established, then I will come around each individual plant and start reapplying a fresh coat of grassy mulch to keep in all this water I keep adding, and make sure I continue to suppress any weeds that want to pop up in this beautiful growing compost. I've replanted my eaten sunflowers, and whilst my other sunflower seeds don't need their lid anymore, I thought I'll rest it on here just to help deter our mousy friend. I've also raised them up off the ground, so that should help as well. I've got 4 of these dark red gladioli bulbs left to plant. So gladioli espresso, so a deep dark burgundy red. I've got 4 bulbs left to go, and I'm going to plant those outdoors. Now I've got 3 I've planted outdoors right outside the back door of the house. These are going to be up here in the big garden, and I've planted 3 in the polytunnel, or it might have been 2, I can't remember. It was a fortnight ago. So I've planted those next to the pineapple lilies. And also today I'm going to make a start on the sweet corn. I'm going to put this to soak in water overnight and plant them in little pots tomorrow. I'll start them off indoors just so I can keep a close eye on them until they get sprouting. And I think that's it for today. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now, and remember, whatever you do, have fun doing it. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. Bye for now, and thanks for watching. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.